Hi everyone, I'm Jane from the Business of Food, and we've started these weekly sessions called Lunch Bites to bring you some of our referral partners and have a discussion about working in these unusual times and how you can make the most of your downtime if you've got it, or refocus your business if that's what you need to do. So today we've actually got the pleasure of chatting with Clare Blackstock from Blade Creative. Clare is one of the very first business owners that I made contact with through networking about, it must have been about 10 years ago, I reckon, Clare. And then obviously, 9 or 10. And then obviously, we've had a lot of our clients actually use Clare's services because she's an amazing graphic designer and she kind of knows what branding is all about, and every startup needs a brand to start with. So Clare, would you mind just introducing yourself and Blade and how you came to this point?
Well, I'm Clare and I'm from Blade, as you've already said. So I have been working with small businesses in Australia, and I think Blade is probably 10 years old. I should count that, shouldn't I? It's probably, I might have missed an anniversary, I'm not sure. So I'm English. I worked with big companies in the UK and worked with big brands, and so I've had that opportunity to deal in sort of marketing and communications of enormous companies, the biggest employer of the UK, in fact, Royal Mail. I worked there for 7 years, and then I freelanced and I worked for smaller agencies and things like that. So, and bigger agencies. I actually did some work for Ogilvy at one stage, and then some other agencies in London.
Wow, that's some credentials.
I was in the Ogilvy one, yeah. So I think that I apply that big brand understanding to small businesses now, and the processes and the discipline that I learned there. I love working, having worked with big businesses, I love working with small businesses because they're more agile. You wade through so much treacle and bureaucracy in those big businesses. So I'm a bit of a corporate escapee. And I really love working with food businesses. I don't only work with food businesses, but they're probably about, 60% of my work is with small food businesses. And
fantastic.
I do, Jane. So yeah.
So we know that you work with small businesses. There must be some. Sorry, bit of a glitch. There must be some similarities between large businesses and small businesses, though. I know there must be some red tape and treacle, as you call it, in the larger businesses that you don't miss, I'm sure. But I'm sure that every company, no matter whether it's large or small, has to be reminded now and again of what a brand is. Do you think?
The brand is always important. I think the difference, from my point of view, is the agility. You still have to make those decisions about what your brand values are or what your brand personality is, and all those things about who you're trying to reach and the customers that you're trying to attract. You can make those decisions more quickly, and I can have that conversation with the decision maker, and that's what I love, the fact that I'm dealing with and talking to the person who's passionate about the business, and really owns the business. I don't know whether that answers the question, but yes, yes, you have to think about the brand in the same way. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose maybe you can run through some of that process, because I know that when you did my rebrand to the Business of Food, you gave me this whole strategy document that actually worked through a whole heap of questions. And at some point I remember thinking, why would you want to know that? But I know that there's a whole stepped approach that you use to get to the core of something that gives you the idea of what that brand might look like. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I say it's my job to get inside your head or my client's head, and I need to ask all those questions around the brand to be able to understand who you're trying to talk to, and what you love. I always want to create a brand that you as a business owner feels connected with and feels represents them as their business. So definitely as a small business owner, you're the one who's got to hand that business card over or that sample product with absolute pride, and I want you to love it, and for me to be able to do that, ask all those questions. So I need to know how you're going to be talking to your audience, but I also need to know what you ask questions about the personality of your brand. And I'm actually just looking through that document that you went through. So I ask about the personality traits that your brand has. So if your brand was a person, would it be efficient, or would it be warm and fuzzy and friendly, or would it be solid? Those are all completely different personality traits, and they're positive personality traits, but applying helps me understand bigger questions, answers to bigger questions. And I also find with this document that it gives people a lot of clarity about their business. People often come back to me and say, yes, it was a really good process, not just because of the brand question or the logo question. What is a brand? Is it just a logo, or is it more than that? And I'd say it is more than that. It's your image, which, yes, essentially could be your logo, but it's also your tone of voice and your reputation. So there's more around a brand than just a logo. So if I can have a broader understanding, then that helps me create something that my clients love and that resonates with their consumers or clients as well.
Yeah, there's actually this weird space in the middle of that creative process, and you and Lee Bidarowski of Lee Bird Photography and Melissa of Bombo have the same kind of, I don't know, smoke and mirrors in the middle for me, because I'm so not a creative person. I keep saying that. And there's this magic that happens between the data that we actually give you as small business owners and the output that you come up with is just amazing. And I think you're right about the brand. Like I said in the introduction, every small business needs a brand, but in actual fact, what they're getting is the personification of what they've told you about and the personality they've tried to describe to you. And then you come up with this amazing logo. It's kind of up to them then to build that brand, but they can do it easily because you've personified it so well.
And sometimes people, if they're very new to a business and they're just at their, germination of an idea, they don't understand that it's not a fully fleshed person, that brand, so they can't describe it to me. So it's actually a business that's been a little bit more established, maybe working for about a year, or has already had lots of conversations with the people who are buying their product, maybe at a farmer's market.
Yeah,
I find it much easier to answer the questions. They know.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I quite often say to people is, I don't have to live with this brand. You're the person who has to live with it. So you need to like it. You need to love it. Yeah, it's not for me to love, it's for you to love. So,
yeah. So can you show us some examples of some work that you've done? Or can you show us some examples of personalities that come through in a brand?
I can show you, I've got this, the thing that I showed you before, which is to try and describe brand personalities. And these are brands that everyone should be familiar with, likely to be familiar with. So I don't know whether, I can't actually see me. Can you see that?
Up a little bit.
Okay.
Perfect.
So each of these, you will most people will have a connection with or a feeling about quite a lot of these brands, and that may be related to their reputation, or it may be related to your personal experience or your with them. Jerry's here is personal brand, isn't it? It's about the people. It's lively, it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, most 2-year-olds can recognise Thomas and Friends down here, or McDonald's.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah. You'd hope not, but yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. And is it because of just the image, or is it because of your experience? So just these black and white images can give you an emotional reaction, which I think is quite interesting.
It just goes to show that, you know, some of those were just like Twitter was just the bird, and Apple was just the apple, and they've built such strong brands around them that, you know, you don't need to know, you know, you don't need to have any text underneath it to recognize it.
Exactly, and you can develop brands in that way. I'm actually, this is an example of one of mine. Again, can you see that?
Yeah.
So Shannon of Beet Sweet makes nougat. She wanted something quite luxurious and sophisticated. Very clearly says the brand Eat Sweet here. I haven't actually got an example of how she moved it on, but going forward, as her brand started making meringues, and it's pink and bright and a cheaper product actually as well. She actually started just using that icon because people already recognize this.
Yeah.
And so this has become her brand icon in the same way as we know that's Woolies, or this is McDonald's. You don't need to say McDonald's.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
What was your question again?
No, that was it. I mean, show some examples of some how a personality shines through a brand, but you've also shown us, you know, how a small business can even look to the future, and you've obviously thought about that and given Shannon the whole kind of look, but then broken it down into something that she can use in different ways.
Yeah, so it's an evolution. I started considering that because I don't know where people are going to take their products. So I'm working with Oliver Lane at the moment, and they make gluten-free bread. And it's I didn't design that brand, but I work with it now, and I quite often work with people with existing brands. And they are now developing a special health, a keto range actually. So it'll still be gluten-free, but we're taking their brand and developing it, and it's all in. It'll be coming out soon. We're actually taking all of it. There's been lots of illustration, and it's got that fill the O rather than using the full. It's a more, it's a development of that brand, and I know that they're going to be going on to create a luxury range. So we've got the O and the L, and so it becomes Oliver Luxury.
Great.
And use that, we can use that O icon across the whole brand, and it's yeah. So I'm taking someone else's brand and working with it and creating a brand family. And it's always useful to make sure that if you've got a brand reputation, a good reputation, you want to build on it. You don't want to lose that following by creating a new product that doesn't look like it's related. So it needs to look like a sibling or a member of the family, not just some. I mean, not every business does that. People develop products across a range, and they each have their own identity. But a small business can actually be quite efficient and build on their the loyalty that they already have. So
exactly. And along those same lines, I think you did the Broth Sisters logo as well, right? So
yeah. Again, actually, this is I've developed this brand, so I didn't do this originally.
okay.
But these are two different products, but the same family. So
Fantastic.
quite small. There's the illustrative elements here, which are quite discreet on this one, but then you have illustrative elements here. You have the same colours. You have the black and the white and the same font family, similar typography, that sort of thing.
Yeah, right. So
the icons have been used in the same way as well. Just
yeah, fantastic. It's fascinating to know that as a small brand, you can act like a bigger one. Like, you don't have to be seen as a startup. A lot of people, I think, especially in their packaging, come with a preconceived idea of, you know, I can't afford to invest in packaging. So they have, like the granola brand that we used to have, they come with this perceived notion that they need to look small, to look natural, but they can still do that and be professional and make an impact.
It's a fine line. I think it's important to make sure that you don't try and compete with. You're not Kellogg's. You're never going to be Kellogg's. Don't try and be Kellogg's. Kellogg's is now a big impersonal brand, whereas you can actually build on the fact that you are a business, but you don't need to look homemade. Yeah. You can sit on the and you can have a story behind it, which may be you, the person that makes it. You know, big brands are also personal brands, like Virgin, for instance. Everyone thinks of Richard Branson.
Yeah.
But there are ways that you can use those tools and techniques and actually get your personality out there and your story out there, and people buy from people. And that sort of authentic human connection can actually be. And another thing, Oliver Lane, they were going to take their new crisp breads and they wanted to put it in boxes and make it look like the things that they were seeing in the supermarket. And they had their clients, so the retailers, saying, no, keep it simple, have a label. We love the label. We want to see the product. So a clear packaging with the label was actually what the retailer did in that instance.
That's kind of
still look branded.
It kind of sits with what Karen Redford was saying of retail feed. When you've got that new product coming through, you do need to have that brand to be able to communicate what you're about. But in actual fact, listen to your retailers, because, you know, they deal with their customers all the time. So there's actually a whole team involved in getting a new product to a retail shelf.
Yeah.
So, Claire, do you want to just run through the most important facets of what you think a brand should be? I mean, obviously, it'll instill some kind of emotional response, but it needs to be consistent, I imagine.
Yeah, so consistent, that's really important. So I always, here's something I prepared earlier. So you don't need to be complicated about it. You don't need to have a really long style guide that lots of the big companies do, but I always create a suite of logos that you can use in different environments. Here we go. Oops. Oh. This is
guess whose that is?
So there are different versions of logo, so you can use it in different ways, and there's some that you're not using so much anymore, but you can be consistent.
Yeah.
Do DIY stuff to be consistent. Without, and you can use it in social media, and you can use it on a letterhead, and you can use it on your website. And having I like to give my clients the power to be consistent, and because it's a really important thing, and you've got all that information about the colours, the fonts, and you can refer back to that document if you know to give that to other people to make sure that it's always the same way, so that people recognise your brand. So that's a kind of a practical way of being consistent, but also the way that you talk about your business, the way that you refer to it in emails like that. You need to talk to someone like Audrey about tone of voice and that sort of thing. Sorry, Audrey, copyright. Another thing that I've written down here about that's really important is authenticity, being real, being true to your brand, and just don't do the smoke and mirrors thing. Actually, just let people connect with authenticity. I think everyone knows that. I've said it already. Don't try and compete with the big brands. Do that by being yourself, and also probably what's most important is to know your niche and understand your market. And I'm sure Agatha would agree with this. Really, don't try and please everybody.
Yeah.
Because you'll end up diluting your message. So
absolutely, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. So.
And I think the other thing you mentioned was love your brand, because you're the one that's going to be introducing it to all sorts of different people, right?
Yeah, and I want you to be able to hand over your business. Any hesitation when you're handing over something that's a representation of your brand is going to be, noticed by the person who you're handing it. You've got to hand over your business card with pride, and I think that's really important. And
yeah. I think so too.
You've got to live with it as well, so you might as well like
exactly. So I didn't ask you this before, and maybe I'm springing this on you, and I don't want you to get too nervous about it. But have you got any tips about what people can do while they've got this downtime? Is there something that you can suggest they can work on while they're not quite as busy as they normally would be?
Actually, I've been very busy. So not in March, but in April and May, I'm busy. And lots of my clients are thinking about new products or developing their products. There may be things that they've had in the back of their mind for a while, and they're using this opportunity to develop them and to work on their marketing materials or their product packaging, those sort of things, and think about how they're going to be branded. Got another example here. So Himanshi, her business is entirely face-to-face, cooking classes, and it's walking tours and things like that. So she's actually created a product here, which we turn around pretty quickly. So foodie trails, kind of foodie trails at home, I suppose. So it's a product that she can sell.
So it's a
spice box with and individually packed spices like this. And
oh, fantastic!
All businesses can move fast.
Yeah.
We're all trying to juggle at the moment, but we turned this around in, I don't know, 2.5 weeks.
I'm going to say 2 weeks. It was from the first conversation that she had with us at the coffee chat, it was like suddenly it appeared to be there. But then I learned there was a 28-page recipe book that you guys designed as well. And so
I wouldn't recommend it. Also with Manchi, it's a brand that I created with her, and so we weren't starting from scratch. So don't want to raise people. Yeah, but it's just thinking laterally like that, and
it's interesting. It's interesting that you've got other clients that are thinking along those lines of new product and what's going to happen when we get out of this, right?
Yeah, and we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel now. So
thank goodness.
Really lucky. So very lucky to live in Australia, I think. But yes, it's really
cool. We might wrap it up, Claire. I think we hit the half an hour on the nose, so that's perfect. Thank you for spending time and sharing your expertise. I really have a great respect for all of you creatives that do that magic in the middle that most of us can't even imagine. So thank you for your friendship and for your experience.
Yeah, there's one thing that I would say about you, because you're always saying that you're not creative, but I think creativity is problem solving. That's what we do. That's how I see it. It's finding a solution to just a visual solution. So I don't know whether you agree with that or not.
No, it's actually a good way to think about it. So maybe I'm just creative in different ways.
Exactly.
Thanks for that, Claire.
Thank you.
We'll end it there, people, but if you would like to join us next week, I haven't yet got a guest lined up, so I can't tell you who it's going to be. I've got a couple that I've asked, so keep an eye on our Facebook page and we'll put up the event there. And if you have any questions about today, feel free to ask it here after the recording or on our Facebook page and our group. Bye for now.